Put it in.
Okay.
Put it in slideshow, please. Sister Rida, okay, thank you. Okay, so first of all, I would like to respect to mom and also to friends, and we are going to present about the test specification, design, and writing item and task, and the last one is testing technique and testing operability, which will be present by Chenda and Rida, and the first presenter will be me. So let me run. Yeah, and please put it in slideshow, please. Okay, yeah. So this one about the test specification and design in the introduction is talk about like specification usually cause space regarding the explore of the test task creation, and sometimes we call it blueprints. And specs are a common sense notion in test development. With like and planning is in test also so that we compare space to a room without seeing inside, that we don't know specific features, and the number of items. Wait. Yeah. And a number of items or tasks are drawn from a small number of space, and it to improve the reliability and validity. And equivalent task, same difficulty level as well as same testing with objective, but also different contents. Next. And okay, number two, planning and testing or SOEURN. A first and logical question may be like just how much can we actually plan in any test, and it depends on school subjects concerned, exam purposes, exam length, and reliability, target test. And it's also talk about the considerable question. Why is it difficult to have one single set of procedure for creating tests? And why must tests reflect local setting needs? And what are the advantages of one set of the procedure, example like MCQ or multiple choice questions? Next. And planning and testing also continue like Therefore, 1995 present a series of guidelines for creating MCQs test item. This means that these guidelines are steps in MCQ with the first statement or question, or we call it STEM. Like the first one is test one item before writing the STEM. If one the solution to that problem may require more than one step. And the second one, STEM creation can be either an incomplete statement or direct question, avoiding a stereotype phraseology. As the root, responses are usually based on the over verbal stereotypes. Next. And continue MCQ. Item sample example, if test take are schools age children in an English medium school setting, do students need additional training on language? So this means that in a recent survey, 80% of drivers were found to wear seat belts. Which of the following could be true? That A, 80 of 100 drivers surveyed were wearing seatbelt, and B, 20 of 100 drivers surveyed were wearing seatbelt, and C, 100 drivers were surveyed and all were wearing seatbelts, and D, 100 drivers were surveyed and none were wearing seatbelt. This is about the MCQ item sample. Next. And continue about that again. Let's see this example below. Like, what does this item test? Does the STEM test only one thing, or is it a clear question or misleading? we can see the statement of question or we pause them. Then we can see also 4 options, but among these 4 options, there is only 1 correct answer, and there are 3 wrong options or distractor in the multiple choice. So next, and getting language and sample. Test press consists of many styles and layouts and have 2 components. The first one is sample of the item or task we intend to produce and getting language about the sample. And the second one is getting language comprise all parts of the test press other than the sample itself in the guidance language and sample. Next. And continue for the above set where a sample guidance language might be include some of these type points or key points. Like the first one is like for option or MCQ, the second one stem should be a statement followed by 1 question. And 3, each choice should be reasonable, contrary to real world knowledge, and each choice should be inside grammatical. And 4, the key should be the early inference that is possible from the statement in the stem. And the 5th one, each distractor should be a slight variation from the feasible possible inference from the stem. That is to say that close reading of all 4 choice is necessary in order to get the correct answer. So next. And let's continue. And contextualize guiding language, like example 6a, one test taker are familiar with item type. They see what kind of test they are being asked to perform. Therefore, the method of the item is transparent to the skills it seeks to measure. However, test takers who are not familiar with these item types mean that the level of familiarity is not of any importance because the focus of this item is close reading, because the item must function as an assessment of proficiency and it requires preferably a high level of proficiency. Next, another concrete or fit to space. This in our next step above was to encourage some guiding language such that item equivalent to the set where question is appear to follow our evolving space here. Like the vast majority of parents in a recent survey favor stricter attendance regulation at their children's school, which of the following could be true? Like A, most parents want stricter attendance rules. B, many parents want stricter attendance rules. C, only a few parents think current attendance rules are acceptable. And D, some parents think current attendance rules are acceptable. So next. And let's continue. Like concurrent, also we call it fit to space, is the degree to which a new item fits an existing space. And our existing item is the setback question, which it has guiding language above, like point 1 to either 6A or 6B. Example like does this new item about the school attendance fit our space? If not, can you think of some new guiding language that clarify what additional item characteristics are possible or feasible? So next. The number 5 is talking about how do test questions originate and reverse engineering and archetypes. Like a guiding language refers to directly to the 2 sample items. It means about the good idea in test specification. Like here, item purpose is to test close inferential reading of assertion about the scientific survey containing precise counts and percentage. For example, 80% in the first sample item and the generalities of the survey nature. Example, the vast majority apparent in the second one. So next. Let's continue. Like the second simple item that inference in a broadly defined was broadly defined. It can be relatively direct, oblique, and indirect, or even inverted. So spread writing is an organized process like time, debate, consensus, pilot testing, and literature rewriting cause the space to grow and to evolve and to a better represent what its development team wish to accomplish in the spread writing. And the beginning of this creative organic process is an interesting problem which happened during this spread writing. And also, test creation starts by looking at existing tests, which is a process known as reverse engineering. Next. So, reverse engineering. Reverse engineering, or we can say it is an idea of ancient origin. The name was coined by Davidson and Lens 2002. Reverse engineering is a test creation analytical process beginning with an actual test question and infers the guiding language and writing a new item during our reverse or different engineering is a very good idea to start an involving specification of the test taking. And next. And also there are 5 steps of reverse engineering and the type overlap. Like the first one is about the straight reverse engineering. It is focused about the guiding language of the existing item without changing the existing item at all to produce the equivalent test question. And the second one, historical reverse engineering, focus on the straight engineering across several existing versions of the test, which is checking on how and why the test change if the active at your teaching institution contain tests that have changed or evolved. Yeah. Next. And number 3 is critical reverse engineering. This we think about critically that are we testing what we want or do we wish to make change in our test design? And number 2, test this construction. Reverse engineering is talking about whether critical, straight, historical or not. In order to provide inside the vision test setting. Example, why would test setting? Why do you close reading for the student? And number 5, parallel reverse engineering. This means that tests can be developed based on external influence like mandate, like external standard outside classroom. Example, common European framework. So next. And number 7 is where do the test item come from and what is the genesis of the test question? It is about the extremely difficult to be truly original in a test question, and an archetype is an canonical item or task. It is the typical way to measure a particular target skill. And it is often asserted that theory comes from first and the test comes later or follow up. This like internal belief drives test creation. Like Benjamin and Palmer in 1996, he developed particular theoretical model of the particular language ability as a guide for test creation. Next. Okay, space-driven test assembly, operation, and maintenance. We might develop a test of 100 items driven by some 10 to 12 space each batch has several equivalent items in the test booklet. And when a new version of the test is produced, the space serves the classic generative rule to have item writer write new question. So over time, each space may generate many tons of items, and from that generative capacity, an item bank can be built. So over time, the assembly and operation of a test represent an investment by its organization. So next, and the Golden Gate Bridge metaphor as example, like in 1937, the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco was completed, and in 1987, a big celebration was held to celebrate a half century of service that people were allowed to walk out onto the bridge, proved to be the greatest weight the bridge had ever carried. The bridge did not fall because it was well built from the beginning. It was simply constructed to the best of the engineering knowledge of the 1930s. So this means that we need to build it or make the test with a strong commitment. So next. And towards space-driven theory. So test specification suggests a theoretical model of test creation and a model of a space-driven test development or space-driven theory seem to have several precepts when it works at its optimal state. That are number one, space exists. It talks about somehow, somewhere, the system is able to articulate the generative guiding language behind any simple test item or task. Next. And the space evolve. They grow and change. In creative engineering, like respond to change in a series, in a curriculum, in a funding, and so on. And third is the space and the tests they generate are not launched until ready. Like the Golden Gate Bridge in 1937, the organization worked hard to discuss and to try out test space and the item and task. And number four, discussion happen and that lead to transparency. This means that space-driven testing can lead to shared authority, collaboration, and involvement of the different different stakeholders. And the last, this is discussion to which all are welcome because the notion of the empowerment and advocacy. So next. Okay, like topic number two, like writing item and task. That the introduction is about the interactive process, which talk about all the tasks are carried out in the cyclical fashion. It's more likely to be reliable and valid, and the process is much messier, like all the activity fit into each other, and the test specifications are not set until the final test. Ready is ready to be rolled out in an actual use. The next. And when a space function, right? Because the best ability of the test developer and take into consideration of feedback and try out available at that moment. And the test specification also continuously involving the document and construct the definition become more precise. So the evidence is collected to support the link between the task and the construct. The next. And a task is essentially a device and allow the language tester to collect the evidence. Based on a Bergman in 1990, direct test is a problematic in a language testing and evident to the construct as a language knowledge or as ability for use. And in 1970 and 1980, the task of syntaxicity is a domain. So next, and authenticity event consists of the matching test model facet to facet of the similar task in the real world, according to Management and Palmer 1996. It means that it does not make test tasks automatically valid through the direct. Nice. And a model test taker is observed the use of the process as well as the operative criticism of the multiple choice items like don't do in the real world, according to Underhill 1982, and is no longer recognized as meaningful. So next. So this is we present by Sister Rida. So that top is.
Okay, thank you, Chenda. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ma'am and my friends in the class. I will continue about Chenda explanation. This is about writing item and task. And then my part is about evidence central design or ACD. And then the last topic is about test technique and testing overall ability. Okay, the first one is evidence central design or ECD. What is ECD? ECD is a methodology for designing assessments that underscore the central role of evidentiary reasoning in assessment design. There are three best premise in ECD. For the first one is an assessment, and then the second one is the chain of reasoning, and then the third one is purpose. The first one is an assessment. It is an assessment must build around the important knowledge in a domain of interest. And then the second one, the chain of reasoning from what participants say and do in assessment to inference about what they know must be based on the principle of evidentiary reasoning. And then the third one is purpose must be the driving force behind the design decision, which reflect constraint, resources, and condition of there are according to Ms. Levy et al. On 2003. Okay, we continue to deeply about what is ACD. ACD is evidentiary reasoning is considered as a validity argument. The argument illustrates the reasoning that support the inference we make from test score to what we claim those scores means. And then evidentiary reasoning is the reasoning that leads from evidence to the evaluation of the strength of the validity claim. And then the last one, the reason or validity argument should connect assessed domains through the score to its meaning in terms of the knowledge of ability about which we wish to make a claim. Okay, next, according to Peirce in 1878, Peirce argued that there were four ways of knowing. There are authority, tenacity, a priori, and scientific. Authority, it means that what we do is therefore follow the practice dictated by the source. And then the tenacity, it means that what we do is therefore based on what we have always done. And then a priority, it means that what we do is therefore what we think is reasonable and right. And then the last one, scientific, it means that investigating what happened in the world based on methods. Okay, next about the structure of ECD. This is the structure of ECD. ECD provides a very systematic way of thinking about the process of assessment and the place of the task. ECD is considered to be a framework. Conceptual Assessment Framework, or CAF, is the structure of ECD. Within this framework are a number of models, and these are defined as design objects. This design object help us to think about how to go about the practical work of designing a test. Okay, next, inside this style test specification, there are 6 model or design objects. So ECD consists of 6 model in there. The first one is student model, evidence model, and then task model, presentation model, assembly model, and the last one is delivery model. Okay, we continue. There is a picture about the model in the conceptual assessment framework of ECD, adapted from Ms. Levy et al. 2003. There are student models, and then continue to assembly model, and then task model. The last one is presentation model, student model to evidence model, and then task model. The last one in presentation model. And all of this model, it's become be a delivery model. Okay, we continue to describing item and tasks about Ms. Levy et al. In 1999 argued that there are at least 3 steps in task design. So there are three steps in task design. They are identify the knowledge, skill, or abilities or constructs that we wish to test. And then the second one is identify the relationship between the contract and the behavior in situation that call for their use. And then the last one is describe the feature of situation that provide the evidence to draw inference or conclusion from behavior to constructs. Okay, we continue to task activities and goals are broken down as follows. We can see in that pictures, activities and goals, it is divided into 3 parts. They are interactional activity, interactional requirement for activity, and then the last one, communication goals. In interactional activity, each participant holds the first info and needs to give and gain into 2 complete tasks. And then one participant holds all the info and supplies it. And each participant holds all the info. In interaction requirement for activity, each participant requests and supply info, and then one participant supplies all the info, and then so each participant requests and supply info, but not obligated to do. In communication goal, the goal orientation, the first one is participant have convergent goals, and then the second one is participant have divergent goals. And then the outcome option from the communication goal are only one acceptable outcome is possible, and then 2, more than one outcome is possible. Okay, next about language characteristic. It is divided into 2. There are organizational characteristic and pragmatic characteristic. And organizational characteristic, they are consist of grammatical and textual. Grammatical consists of vocabulary, syntax, phonology, and graphology. And then textual, it consists about cohesion, rhetorical, or conversational organization. In the pragmatic characteristic, it is divided into 2. They are functional and sociolinguistic. In functional, it's, for example, in ideational, manipulative, heuristic, and imaginative. And then in sociolinguistic, it is consists of dialect or variety, register, naturalness, cultural reference, and figurative language. Okay, there are 3 of the potent identifiable abilities of the good reader. The 3 are, first one, and automatic word recognition skills. Second, alert recognition vocabulary, and the last, ability to recognize common word combination or collocation. They are according to Grape in 1999. Okay, it is about the ACD style basic task specification to match our samples. The first one, we must claim to be met in relation to contract, and then the assumption or the statement, and then the presentation material, and then the last one is the work products. Okay, and task and teaching. There are some questions that must be answered in task and teaching. First one is, do you prepare students to take tests? Which test? Which test? You know that, of course, in teaching, we need to take a test for the student to measure their ability or skill in that lesson. So the teacher must prepare student tasks and decided which test that's suitable with our lesson goals. And then the second question are, does the test influence how you teach? How do you use the task types on the test in preparing your credit? It means that all of kind of tests in a class must be prepared Of course, also the type of test must be prepared by the teacher. Teacher type of test influence the technique that the teacher use in the classroom. So the teacher must prepare it from the beginning until the end of teaching learning process. Okay, now we continue to the last topic. It is about test technique and testing overall ability. For the first one is about the test technique. Test technique, it means of eliciting behavior from candidates, which will tell us about their language ability. So from the test technique, we know that the language ability from the candidate that we have to measure. And then we need technique that's reliable, valid ability. It means that we need technique which will elicit behavior, which is reliable and valid indicator of the ability in which we are interested. And then the second one, we need a technique which will elicit behavior which can be reliable scored. And then the third one, we need a technique which are as economical of time and ever as possible. And then the last one, we need a technique which will have a beneficial backwards effect. Okay, this is the technique of test technique, multiple choice. This is the basic patterns. We can see that the example of basic pattern of multiple choice, and it has been here, blah, 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 half an hours. A, during, B, for, C, while, and D, signs. And since, and a number of opinions we can come a question for multiple choice. And then in multiple choice, one of which is correct answer and the other being distractors. Okay, so there are some advantages and disadvantages of multiple choice. For the advantages, the first one is in multiple choice, the scoring is reliable, and then economical, and then the last one is more item, it is more test reliability in multiple choice. And then the advantages are, the first one is multiple choice only recognizes knowledge, and then guessing may have a considerable but unknowable effect on the scores. And then the third one, the techniques severely restrict what can be tested. And then the fourth, it is very difficult to write successful items. And then next, backwards may be harmful. And then the last one, cheating may be facilitated. Okay, now we continue to testing overall ability. Testing overall ability, it is used when we want to assess the general language performance. It is the idea of reducing redundancy. There are three techniques that we can discuss in testing overall ability. They are close, C-test, and dictation. Okay, now we continue to the first technique, that's the close procedure. Close procedure is in its original form, the close procedure reduces redundancy by deleting a number of words in a passage, leaving blanks and requiring the person taking the test to attempt to replace the original words. Close procedure recommended as a means of measuring reading ability. There are three kind of close procedure. They are selective deletion clause, and then conversational clause, and mini clause item. This is the example of close procedure. Just as blah 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 have four, and then bird have blah 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 the answer. So this is the blank of words. Words lost from the sentence. Okay, we continue to C-test. C-test, it is a variety of clause. C-test, instead of full word, it is the second half of every word which is deleted. There are some advantages of C-test. The first one is it requires exact scoring. And then the second one, shorter passage are possible. And then the third one is it takes little space and short time to complete. And then the fourth is it may include a large number of items. And then the last advantages of C-test is possible to design mini C-test. Okay, this is they are the disadvantages of C-test. The first one is puzzle-like nature of the task, and then the second one is correct response can often be found in the surrounding text. There are the two of disadvantages of C-test, and then it is the example of C-test. We can see in the example. There are usually 5-man crew of fire engine, one blah blah blah. So it is a part of words or letter is missed from the sentence. So we must complete it in C-test. Okay, and then the last one is dictation. Last technique is dictation. Dictation is the candidate heard only a stem of sound which had to be decoded into a section of word, store and repeated on a paper. The advantages of dictation is it is easy to create and administer. And then the weakness of dictation is it is not easy to score, and then it is time consuming. Okay, I think that's all, Chenda, about my presentation. Okay, you can close our presentation. Thank you, my friend and ma'am.
Yeah, Mrs. Rida, and thank you so much for mom and also friend for the listening as well. And we are sorry if we take in the presentation. So that's our presentation. Thank you.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.